everyone. Welcome back to the Time to Heal podcast. I'm Dr. Rani Samuel, and today our topic is vows people make. What exactly is a vow? These are statements that we all can make. Have you ever caught yourself saying things like, I swear, I will never, or even I promise? These are things that we can say at any point in our lives. Some are accurate and others certainly are not. You see, a vow is a solemn promise to complete a particular task, a duty, or an activity. My patients make a lot of vows, and we actually have to spend time figuring out when the vows were actually made. And this applies to you and I also. Vows born out of trauma can turn you into a slave towards a situation, and it can result in years of bondage. These are inaccurate vows, and it can change the path of life of a person. Let me tell you about my patient Enzo, who came to see me after the death of his father. He was grieving and he had a lot of concerns about his aging mother. Enzo had 2 other siblings who lived nearby the mother. On his father's deathbed, his father called Enzo aside and said to him, Enzo, please take care of your mother. Look after her. Enzo has a job with high responsibility, and he has to work long hours and very often very late into the night. But since his father's passing, he made it his duty to so-called take care of his mother and visit her every single day after the end of his workday, something that was terribly unsustainable. And once he had finished the visit and his mother was upset and grieving and crying, he then had to go home and see to his own small family, because he was married for about 6 years now, and they had a little baby. Enzo's father's words had become a bondage to him. And as I said, when he went to see his mother, she was grieving and often crying, and Enzo had to now play psychotherapist to her. She frustrated him because she refused all psychological care and she was slipping into a depression. And he began to feel incredibly frustrated because he had work demands and he had his own home demands. One of the things we did in therapy was to look at this vow that he had made to take care of your mother. His father was a very reasonable man and he was a very wise man. And I said to him, and so let's look at what your father actually wanted you to do. What does it mean to take care of your mother when your father knew you had a very demanding career and responsibilities of your own? And we sat down and began to unpack what the father was really asking him. And we realized that his father wanted him to have a supervisory role, to oversee the care of his mother and not necessarily to do everything himself. And once we looked at the inaccurate vow that Enzo made with himself and his father, we began to set in motion a plan that would benefit the mother. Enzo arranged for other relatives and the siblings to visit her and take more responsibility. Instead of visiting daily, he would make sure that he phoned and had video calls. Slowly, he started to increase her independence, and there was increasing opportunity for social networking for her. Initially, it was just neighbors and friends and family. So as you can see, an inaccurate vow can keep you in bondage and frustrate your life. Very often, my patients make inaccurate vows in childhood, and this often it could be due to the loss of a parent or some hidden agenda of a parent, and they start to take more responsibility than they should have. Let us remember that even if you took a vow to your parents as a child, most often you don't even realize you're doing it. As a child, you have no authority, you're not competent, you're not mature, and you have no resources to complete the vow. Let me tell you about my patient Ajax. He's 20 years old and comes from a family where he has 2 older brothers. These brothers have a series of addictions, including gambling on the phone, alcohol, and more severely, cocaine. Ajax is a highly anxious young man, and he feels constantly on edge. This happens especially on weekends, when both his brothers disappear on a Friday and often come back on a Sunday or Monday morning. It became Ajax's job and responsibility to wait for phone calls from his brothers as to where they are and what needs to be done in terms of bailing them out of crack houses. They would call him and give him a location, and it would usually be in very seedy areas. And then they would tell him how much money is required to bail them out. Very often, both brothers would pawn their cell phones. So even that was a problem in communication. Why did Ajax feel so entrapped in terms of this responsibility of having to take care of his brothers? He once told me, "I don't ever remember being relaxed in life." And that's a very sad story for a young man. When we dug deeper, we came to realize that his mother told him at a very young age, "Ajax, you are your brother's keeper." Immediately, she had set a trap for him, causing him to suffer with chronic anxiety. Because as a young person, and he's been doing this since he was, around about 15 or 16 years old, it became his responsibility to watch over his siblings. So being told he is his brother's keeper made him feel that this is something he is obligated to do. And this became a vow of bondage. Ajax required medical management for his anxiety, and for the first time in his life, he began to sleep better and did not feel as on edge anymore. But his home situation was very tempestuous, and this did not help the healing journey. With time, he let go of the responsibility of taking care of his older brothers, and he freed himself from the inaccurate vow that he had taken. I would like you to reflect on your childhood, growing up years, and currently, and see which inaccurate vows you have made, why you have made them, and how this has impacted your life. When did you say, I swear, or I will never, or even I promise? You see, many vows made, especially when you were less mature, are done without the full knowledge and awareness of the implications of such vows. I hope you would consider these questions, take time, meditate on them, and do reflect and see what needs to be done about them. Thank you for listening. I will see you next time.